back for Hartfield. 1-0 Burnley. Scott Hartfield. He's been threatening that recently. And all the Burnley players run to the Darwin end. Oh, what a goal! What a goal from Robbie Blake! Burnley's first goal in the Premier League is something very, very special.
Wade Elliott has that change of pace and he's got away from Montgomery. It's the path of McCann and the follow-up finds the net. What a strike from Wade Elliott! A bolt from the Claret and Blue.
Oh goodness me! What a goal from Patterson! If that is to be the one that takes them to Wembley, you cannot argue with that. Pure quality.
Here goes Mike Conroy. Still time for a winner, maybe. John Francis! They came to York in their thousands. They're going home as champions.
I mean, if there's any justice in the world, Burnley would surely score from this corner. Swung right in there. Ball in there. Yeah! Michael Keane! Oh, that's justice! That is justice at the Amex Stadium. Burnley are level and deserve to be.
Hello everybody and welcome along to the latest episode of the Turfcast podcast full-time show. Get in there. The Clarets have won. I left that on screen. I didn't mean to leave that on screen. I do apologise. But the Clarets have won. And not just won, they have annihilated somebody. Again, it's been coming, hasn't it? Though we feel like it's been coming a little bit. I know we dicked Wigan, but I felt, Wigan aren't really that good. Swansea came to the turf with confidence. The lad on the Swansea pre-game show was confident. He's like, I think we can finish in the top six. I think we can keep this run of form going against some very good side, including yourselves. I think they play Norwich soon as well. And they've got Cardiff, actually, on Saturday, I think it is, or probably Sunday on TV, isn't it? But they were confident and we absolutely dismantled them. We were superb, weren't we? Absolutely fantastic. We were by far and away the better side. We deserved to win 4-0. If anything, it could have been 5 or 6. They didn't even lay a glove on us. What I will say is for the first 10 minutes, I thought they were okay. They were pressing us. They were coming at us. And I thought, hey, these guys are actually going to come for us here and they might do pretty well. But then we just kind of learned how to beat their press, didn't we? And we learned how to beat the lines. We learned just to let them come at us and play the triangles, get in behind, and then, you know, we've got the advantage there because we're breaking the lines and there's 4 players behind our player. Apologies for smacking the microphone there. And then when they pressed us, we just dealt with it very, very well, like I said. And then when we pressed them, they couldn't handle that and they rushed, they kicked the ball, they lost possession. I'll be honest, I was disappointed with Swansea. I'm not taking anything away from Burnley at all. We made them look average. And let's be fair, that they've won their last 4 games, as I said earlier. And if that's how we make informed teams look, then we're going to do very, very well. However, we'll get into it. I'm not on my own today, by the way. Sean is here. We will get into it and have a proper debate about the game soon. But I do feel that there's two times this season that a team has come at us and attacked us and pressed us. Wigan and Swansea. Look what's happened to both of them. But all these other teams, your Cardiffs, your Stokes, your Prestons, they've all just sat back against us. Coventry, they're sat back for 85 minutes at home. They've just sat back against us, and that's where we've struggled. All right, we're top of the league, so we haven't struggled that much. But you know what I mean? Like we could have easily like have more points on the board and have won more games. But 1 defeat all season. Sheffield United and Norwich have both lost 3 times. So, you know, it just shows how well we all have actually doing. But get your comments in. Like I said, we have got Sean here. I will bring Sean in a couple of minutes. But get your comments in as well. So it's always good to read some of the comments out. Trucker Jenkins says, after a nervy 10 minutes or so with Swansea living up to their recent reputation, we absolutely battered them. About time someone took a hiding on the turf. A brilliant Burnley performance. Pretty much just spot on, mate. You've nailed it. Pretty much everything that I said there. Mike Green says, evening, Joe. Evening, Mike. Got you all, but a great win. And even better against the second best team in South Wales. I think Mike is a Newport fan. He's not a Cardiff fan, I know that much. I think he's a Newport fan. Simon Edmondson, good to see Simon in the chat again. How you doing, mate? All you okay? He says, felt it in my blood. J-Rob was going to bag today. Well, he didn't just bag, mate. He bagged twice. So there's something right about your blood. There is something right about your blood. And then he follows it up, says, it's great to have a good squad. To bring Bassi on, etc. with 20-25 mins looking good at the more. Yeah, I did say that to my dad at the time. Like, obviously, Teller had that bit of an injury down by the Jimmy McElroy stand, didn't he? And then he were hobbling on, and then you thought, oh, he can probably play on. But I was saying to the guy next to me and my dad, I was like, there's probably no point in, we're already 4-0 up. Oh, it might be 3-0 at the time, I can't remember, but we were winning and cruising. So there's nobody, there's no reason to keep him on the pitch and risk him. We now have the squad depth to be able to take him off. And even if we didn't have the squad depth, to be fair, we're winning 3-4-0, so what does it matter? But even then, we had the squad depth to be able to take him off and then rest him for the next game, which is, of course, on Wednesday against Birmingham. If I'm wrong, I'm sure someone will tell me. Yeah, it's a great place to be in, is it, Simon? And it's looking good at the minute, isn't it? Just before I bring Sean in, of course, I've already mentioned that we are top of the league, but I'll tell you what I will do. I will put it on the screen for us all to see, because it might not last that long, let's be honest. It might not last that long. Norwich are playing tonight, so it might not last that long. I probably should have prepared this before, and there you go. So you've got Burnley, top of the league. I'll just zoom in a little bit so you can see it better on your screens. There you go. You got Burn. Oh, I've cut us off. Cut us off. There you go. Live TV for you. So Burnley, top of the league. Recent form is 1-1, draw 1. Sheffield United, they have fallen absolutely off the boil, haven't they? They've only picked up 2 points in their last 4 games. Admittedly, they do have a lot of injuries, so I do feel for Sheffield United. I do still feel they're the best team, or the best team. I'm going to say the best team in the league there, but I think if we play like we do today for the rest of the season, I do believe it'll be us. But they're the best team to challenge us, I think, at the minute. When they get their players back, they'll be a very, very, very tough nut to crack, and we'll do very, very well to finish above them when they've got all their players back. They've got so many injuries. It's bordering on a joke how many injuries they've got. But it's better for us, isn't it? If Blackpool can get a point there, then they might start falling away. But of course, Blackpool got a point against us. And it was pretty much exactly the same sort of game as well. They were 2-0 up. All right, Blackpool came back to 3-2 rather than 2-1. 2-1, sorry. But they were 2-0 up, and then Blackpool came back, and then they scored later on. But it sounds like a crazy game there, because there were 4 sendings off as well. Anyway, I digress. But we're top of the league on 25 points. Then comes Sheffield United on 25 points. The reason why we might not be top of the league for a while is because Norwich are playing tonight in around half an hour, actually. And they're playing Watford, and I think it's at Watford. But Watford have been a little bit shy, let's be honest. So we'll see what that ends up. If they win, they'll go on 27 points, so they'll be top of the league. But second is fine at this stage of the season. Second is fine at the end of the season, let's be honest. Then comes QPR, joint with Norwich on 24 points. Then comes the Horse Fiddlers. They've played a game more than everybody else, though, on 24 points because they lost against Wigan in midweek. Do you remember? That side we beat 5-1. They lost down there. Then comes Reading as well, who they look like. I said Reading would fall. They've lost their last 2 and haven't won in 3. So it's looking very, very positive. Simon Edmondson's in the chat again. He says, Jordan Bayer looks better every time I see him. Class for such a young lad. I tell you what, the 2 we've got at the back, they might not be at the World Cup this year, but they will definitely be at the World Cup in 4 years, playing for England and Germany. Is Bayer German? I think he is. I'll tell you what, I'll bring Sean in because Sean will probably know the answer to that question. Sean, how you doing, mate? You all right?
Yeah, I'm not bad, thanks. You?
Yeah, good, thank you, mate. Before we get on to the game, Bayer's German, isn't he? I know so. He comes from a German team.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. So there you go. It is German football player. I've googled it. Yeah, there you go. Could have just googled it, couldn't I? But Edward Bellis will be playing for England at the World Cup in 4 years, maybe 8 years. It's better than Aaron Maguire now, let's be honest. And I think Bayer could be playing for Germany. So them 2 are class, aren't they? But let's get into it then. Sean, what were your thoughts on the game today and Burnley's brilliant performance?
Well, before the game, looking at their form, I thought it could be a bit of a tougher test than we've had recently. But I thought, everyone else has kind of turned up at Turf Moor and parked the bus for 90 minutes and we've had to break them down. I didn't think they'd do that. I thought they'd come and try and play football. And they did. And for the first 10 minutes or so, we were struggling to get on the ball. We were struggling to find our passes. And it looked like it might be a more difficult game. And then after 10 minutes, we kind of got to grips with it, got our foot on the ball, and they couldn't run with us after that. We just did the same thing as them, but way better than them.
Yeah. Why do you think that is? Do you think we just learnt? Do you think we were just for the first 10 minutes kind of like feeling them out and just thinking like, all right, we'll just see what the crack is here, see how they're trying to play, and then sort of like gauge our plan, or do you think it was just a case of we just looked at them and thought, oh, they're doing it, we can do it better than them, sort of thing?
I'm not sure. It could be a bit of both. I know early in the season, there were a few games that we started quite slowly. Took us about 10 minutes to get going in a couple of games. I remember the Luton game would be an example where we conceded in the first 3 or whatever it was.
Yeah, Hull as well.
Or maybe it was just we expected them to turn up and park the bus like everyone else has done.
Yeah, mate, you're probably right, mate. It probably just shocked us. Excuse me. It probably just shocked us when somebody like actually come at us. We was like, "All right, so this is how you play football, then, is it?" Rather than teams like Coventry sitting back for 85 minutes. I want to talk about individual performances as well. It's hard to pick people out, but we are going to have to pick a man of the match later on. We won't do that just yet. Everybody in the comments, get your man of the matches ready. Don't put it in there yet. We'll do it later on. Someone's going to put it in just to annoy me. I know they are. But I was surprised to see a bit of stick. Admittedly, it was only 1 or 2 accounts. A bit of stick when Anas Saruri was included in the squad, in the starting 11. Because every time he's come on, I've been very impressed with him. I think there was one game when he came on as a sub where I was a little quiet because he came on, Mike. I knew someone would do it. Because he came on and he wasn't very... he didn't get involved, but he came on quite late. And then I think in the first half against Coventry, it was quite bold. But second half, it was really, really good. And today, it was absolutely sensational, wasn't it? But I do want to talk about Zururi. What are your thoughts on him? Because he looks a real player, doesn't
he? He looks brilliant. He's still very young, isn't he? A teenager still, I think.
Yes, I think so.
Very early 20s, if he is in his 20s. He looks brilliant. Even at Coventry, where, as you say, he was quiet in the first half. I remember there was one cross he put in with the outside of his foot that no one was expecting, and Jay Neal.
21 he is.
There we go. So he's a young player and he's really exciting. And to have someone who will get the ball and run at people and he wants to take them on and then they'll do it again. Let's have skill. And we've got a few players that do that now.
Yeah.
But apart from Cornet last year, we've not had that for ages.
I mean, we had Dwight, but he'd run at somebody, run around in circles, and then pass it back. But yeah, it's good. But I think he's the best at doing that. And he was on. He was on the side, and they kept getting overlapped by who was it? Vitinho, and then they'd swap around, and then he'd be playing well with Martson. I just thought he was brilliant as well. I saw Vitinho and Martson swap around a couple of times as well, and it was just good to see the fluidity. I mean, we've talked about it before on the show, haven't we? The fluidity of the formation, and we kind of knew that was going to happen. But it's another discussion now. Is Vitinho? He played very, very well again. I was a bit disappointed to see Connor Roberts didn't play against his boyhood club because it was going to be interesting to see how he did play against them. But who knows? Somebody sent me a DM who will remain anonymous saying, I wonder if there's anything to do with him refusing to play against his boyhood club. He didn't say he had refused, he was saying he'd wondered. But again, I'm just playing devil's advocate here, and I don't really want to get into that in case there's someone will be mad at me for. But I'm going round the houses to ask you, does Connor Roberts get back into the squad now? And for me, I don't think he does. I don't see how we can bring Connor Roberts back into the squad other than a rotational purpose. But if you want to pick your fully strong starting 11, I think for me now you've got to go Vitinho on the right and Martson on the left.
Yeah, I've seen Connor Roberts get some stick on Twitter over the last few weeks, and I thought he's been pretty good. Obviously, midweek last week he got the winner, didn't he? So yeah, I don't think he's been bad. Other people probably disagree with that. And he can be very good going forwards, as he was when he was at Swansea, which is what we were all excited about when we signed him. But obviously, when he's been playing this season, he's kind of sat in as a third centre-back when we're on the ball, which Vitinho and Martson don't do. And Cullen's dropped in to how we probably expected him to play when we signed him. That's what he did at Anderlecht. It's difficult for us to get back in, but I don't think it's through him doing anything wrong. It's just Vitinho's so exciting. And also, for the first goal, for one fullback to assist the other, that's the kind of thing Liverpool do.
Yeah, and you know what? I'll just quickly read Harry's comment out here because I don't want to change subjects and then come back to it. But he does say, been saying this for weeks, Vitinho has to be first choice now. And then Harry does follow that up by saying, I don't think Roberts has been poor. I think the fans are hard on him. Vitinho is just a better player. And I think I agree with Harry on this one, to be honest. I do. I think Connor Roberts has still got a part to play. I think he'll probably play on Wednesday, maybe, and then bring Vitinho back in on Saturday, or maybe Vitinho again Wednesday and Roberts on Saturday, depending. Because obviously, as you mentioned earlier, we have options now. We have the depth. I think Connor Roberts will still have a role to play by coming in when other players need resting or things like that. But yeah, you mentioned that there, and even at 4-0. There's a guy behind me, and all he does, I thought I were bad, mate, right? Honestly, when we conceded against Stoke, I was up. I was like, yeah, fucking useless. I get quite out of it. Then I sit down, I'm like, all right, fair enough, that were a bit over the top. Like, you're useless, can't believe you've done it again. Learn your lesson, Burnley, and all this, right? And I thought I were quite miserable. We're 4-0 up today, and the guy be like, just get in the box, just cross it in the box. Why are you not crossing it? But when... I am an advocate of doing both. Like, I think if the cross is on, put the cross in. If the cross isn't on and their box is crowded, there's no real reason to put the cross in. We can pass it around and maybe try and get a goal in the way we got the fourth goal by playing a nice little neat ball to Jay, firing it in the bottom corner. But it's good to see that we can do both, isn't it? Because like you said, one fullback crossed it in for the other fullback. Header, not the best header in the world, but it went in, didn't it? So yeah, it's good to see us playing both sort of ways, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. There have been times, certainly earlier in the season, where the cross could have gone in and it's come out and been recycled and ended up back with the centre backs. We've got to start again. And it's been frustrating for us because for years, if we're used to, if the cross is on, it goes in. And that's what we looked for, is get the cross in. And now we're not doing it. And as fans, it's taken us a while to adjust to it, I think. But for the players, maybe they'd gone too far away from it and now they're bringing it back in. And because we weren't doing it for a while, I think it's catching teams out as well. If you look at how much space Vitinho had for the header, there's no one near him, no one followed him because no one expected the ball to come in.
And it was such a good ball as well.
Start again.
Yeah, sorry, the camera screwed me over there. It was such a good ball as well, though, wasn't it? And I think that helps as well because obviously the player naturally moves over to the their right-hand sside to try and prevent the cross from coming in. Vitinho snuck round the back and gets it off to a decent start. Cullen, I want to mention him. Brilliant ball for Jay's fourth. A lot of times they were getting on the ball, they were making things happen. I know John is a big advocate of Jack Cork and also says things like, "Oh, Jack Cork does things that people don't see." Cullen's the same as well. But Cullen's better on the ball. So them two complement each other perfectly. But that double pivot role were brilliant today. But I thought Cullen was sensational.
Yeah, he put some great tackles in as well. After that assist, I think from that kickoff, he put in a great side and tackle near Swansea's dugout, and it was a great challenge. Put it out for a throw, I think, but he picks it up and he helps us stay in their half and does the quiet things that Jack Cork does as well.
Yeah, them two. Sometimes I do think that not that they frustrate me because they're poor, but playing them two in games like Coventry away or Luton at home, Hull at home. No disrespect to these sides, but we could probably do without a double pivot, maybe just one defensive midfielder or none at all. But I'd probably have at least one. But today, against a team that is trying to come at us, who is trying to press us, them two worked perfectly. And I think they will work perfectly in these sort of games against teams that are going to come at us, against teams that are trying to attack us, against your Norwiches, against, I don't know, maybe I don't know how the Horse Fiddlers play, to be honest. I've not watched them. I refuse to watch them. I'm one of them. But, sort of like teams like that who are going to come at us, I think they were brilliant today. Jay Rodriguez, 2 goals. And it was weird. It was kind of quiet in the first half. Obviously, he got the second with a great finish in the second half. Brilliant ball by Cullen, though, as we've just mentioned. Tottenham 2, Everton 0 for anyone who's wondering. But I thought Jay were brilliant. I really did think Jay were brilliant. And the 2 goals as well. So that takes him to, is it 7 goals for the season now? Yeah, that's a great return after 14 games. So he's a goal every other game really. So he was brilliant today.
Well. So
sorry, what's that?
He missed the start of the season. So he's not even played 14 games.
True. Remember, obviously, we had Barnsley up top against Huddersfield as well. Simon Emerson, I do agree with you with that. He says, I think Cork and Cullen help our defence massively. I do agree with that. And I think in a game like today, they were perfect. And I think that's why the defence, I think they really helped the playing out from the back because there are obviously other options nearby the defence. So when obviously Muric or Bayer or Taylor Harewood Bellis has the ball, them two are there and they're quite easy to pass it to. So I really do think they help our defence. Speaking of the defence, like they didn't really have too much to do in a sense of any last-ditch tackles, but what they did have to do, they did it brilliantly, and it's 2 clean sheets in a row for 2 different goalkeepers as well. So that's only going to help our confidence, isn't it, for the games coming up?
Yeah, I agree. And I saw some people on Twitter when the team was announced saying, "Oh, it's Arshawn Peacock Farrell to get dropped after getting a clean sheet." But Coventry didn't have a shot on target, so he didn't have a save to make. And he makes me a bit nervous. I don't really have anything to base that on. Apart from he played in net against City a few years ago, didn't he? So of course we got battered. But,
to be fair, we get battered even with Pope at net there, don't we?
So you can't be judged for that, but it just makes me nervous. And then Muric makes me slightly less nervous now because I've seen more of him.
Yeah. I know what you mean, though. I feel that way about Bailey, to be honest. But there's a lot of people who feel the same way about Muric, simply because of the the earlier season mishaps with him and Cullen. But I'm with you. I'd rather have Muric there. And like you say, I don't understand how people can sit there and say it's harsh on Bailey, or I would have started Bailey because he got a clean sheet. Like you said, they didn't have a shot on target. Just do a bit of research, click on the stats. So that Bailey had nothing to do. I don't know how many shots on target Swansea had today. I remember a header.
There was one header that was straight at him.
Yeah.
There was one that got blazed over, I think, but that's why I wasn't on target, so that doesn't count. There was one that it may have been on target, but I think Vitinho deflected it behind.
Yeah, just got the stats up here. 2 shots on target for Swansea. We had 5. We'll get onto that in a minute, how lethal we were. And another thing I want to get onto, I checked after 10 minutes, I was like, okay, we're getting Burnley here. And that means these days that they're, because when people say, oh, you've been Burnley, that means, oh, you've sat back in the counters and you don't deserve to win, sort of thing. But now it doesn't mean that. Now it means they had most of the ball. And I'm thinking, oh, they're going to Burnley's here. And I checked the possession stats after 10 minutes. Yeah. And then had 75% possession after 10 minutes, but it finished on 52% possession to Burnley in 48. So obviously that's quite even, that, to be fair. But this time we had 10 shots, 5 on target. So that's a 50% strike rate there. So that's pretty decent. And with 52% possession and having 10 shots, that's quite decent, that, especially when 5 are on target, which tells me they were all quite decent efforts. So we were better in possession as well today, but I felt that while watching the game. I don't know about you.
Yeah, we felt dangerous, and what we got today was counter-attacks, which we've not seen for the last however many weeks because no one's attacked us until the last 5 minutes.
Yeah, well, I think that's more us sitting back, but I take your point.
But so we've not been able to counter teams, and then today we could. So you had the pace of Martin or Vitinho running, then Teller, and just a word on Nathan Teller. I thought he was brilliant.
Yeah.
He might not have scored, he might not have got an assist, but I just thought he was fantastic. His work was great. And they couldn't do him.
I agree with that. I do want to chat about Teller, actually. Like, he's been sensational this season. I think today was one of his better performances, actually. Which is weird saying that because, like you say, he didn't get an assist, he didn't get a goal, and he's done that so much recently. And pretty much all season, to be honest. He's been one of the standout players. But today, they just couldn't handle him. So after the first couple of minutes, when he got in behind relatively easily, like he always seems to, with a simple ball over the top and a fantastic touch like he always does, they just started cropping him. I don't know what it was like on your stream. Obviously, I'm sat in the gym in Max, so I had quite a good view of it. But then after about 35 minutes, they did that tackle on him in the middle. And he went flying. Honestly, it went about 10 foot up in the air and like left. It was, I couldn't believe it. Couldn't believe it. And that's the only way that they could deal with him. He's brilliant though, isn't he, Teller? I absolutely love him. My little boy is 4 and it's his favourite player.
Yeah, I said to my mates after the Coventry game, never fall in love with a lone player, but I have again.
Far too late for that, isn't it? It's far too late for that. Like I said, my little boy's 4. So Simon says started cropping him. Not heard that in a while. I'm showing my age there. Simon. What's the word these days, Sean? What's the word these days for fouling people?
I've got no idea. My dad always called those tackles a reducer.
A reducer.
Yeah,
that is a proper 70s term, that, isn't it? I expect to see that on some sort of like Odd Man's film.
Yeah.
Give him a reducer.
Could do in whatever that film is. It's gone.
It's gone. Yeah, Simon. I love saying cropping me. That's my favourite one. Lumbago is serious, and I hope you're serious with the comment, mate. He says we need to sign Teller on a permanent. I would love to sign Teller on a permanent. However, I would be very surprised especially if we stay down and Southampton stayed up. We will do very well to keep hold of him. If Southampton go down and we go up, we'll stand a chance. But I think they'll then be looking at us with pound signs in their eyes. So again, we'll have to see. But it's one of them. Like if we're going into the Premier League and they're coming down, he's going to want to play at the highest level. But Harry does say it is strange Southampton loaning him to, as they're really struggling this year. They are. Did they drop into the relegation zone today?
I'm not sure, but they're down that end of the table. I've got a friend who's a Southampton fan, and I messaged him during the game and said, "Why did you loan him to us? Because he's magic." And the Southampton fans are pretty unhappy, I think. He said, "I've got no idea. We haven't got a clue. He should be starting."
I saw a Southampton fan tweet a few days ago saying Teller's going to be fantastic for them in the Championship next season, which kind of just sums it up, doesn't it? Because he's fantastic for us in the Championship this season. They're not doing very well. But yeah, it's one of them. I don't understand why they've done it. I wouldn't be surprised. I'd be gutted, obviously, but I wouldn't be surprised in January if the phone rang and they were like, "We're going to take him off your hands here." And I really think that could derail our season because he is sensational. But I think today we proved that even though he played really well, that we can get goals and assists without him. So fingers crossed that if that does happen, hopefully it doesn't, that we can live without him. Obviously gone top of the league today for, a few hours at least. Yeah, until 10 o'clock. Can we stay there? Not forever, but do you think we can stay there from now and have a prolonged period at the top? Maybe start turning these draws into wins and put a gap between us and third. I'll be happy with a gap between us and third. That's all I'm bothered about.
I'd still take top 6, to be honest. I just want to be in and around it. But yeah, I think the draws we've had have been frustrating, but I think psychologically getting that clean sheet at Coventry and stopping that,
yeah,
I think that will make a big difference. And now that we've done it once, we know we can do it again and we can defend that. Because once Coventry made those subs, they were really flying at us.
Yeah, true.
And they still end up without a shot on target. We're top of the league and we've been moaning about dropping points.
Yeah.
That's where our standard is.
Yeah.
And when we stop dropping those points, which I think we will, if we'd got them already, we'd be 8 points ahead.
Yeah, exactly. We've been in a position, like you say, where we've dropped a lot of points. Obviously, Cardiff rings a bell. Excuse me. Stoke, West Brom, Preston. There's your 8 points, and then you've got the games earlier in the season where I think if we play them again now, we win them, whether it's comfortably or not. I think we beat Hull at home quite easily. Look at the state that they're in for a start. But even if they were in that state, even if they were as good as they were in that game, and we are as good as we are now, I think we'd have put them to the sword pretty comfortably. Same with Luton. So yeah, I'm looking more at top 2 now, and I'm very, very rarely overly optimistic. I do get optimistic, but I just think don't say it because if he'll end up coming back, especially when you're recording it, he'll end up coming back to bite you on the face. But yeah, I am very, very confident for the rest of the season. Just read some comments out. It's good to see Phil in the chat. How you doing, Phil? You're all right, mate. Phil Wilcox says, "Evening, lads. Happy days. Great performance today. Huge credit to company for the team. The press we put on them won the game." Yes, Phil, I said that earlier in the stream. Our press put them under pressure. They couldn't handle it, so they panicked. They either lost possession or booted it into play or just booted it straight to us. And then the press that they gave us, we just picked him off pretty easily. As you all know, if you're joining the stream live late, That's what I meant to say. If you're joining the live stream late, once it's finished, you can watch it on YouTube from the start. And then after I've been to McDonald's, I'll put a podcast up as well because I'm no sponsorship from McDonald's actually. But I'm going to go to McDonald's after I've done the stream. Tony says, after the massive turnover of players, we're doing far better than I thought we would. And Sean, a word on this because I said quite a lot at the start of the season that I felt like maybe at Christmas we might be like 9th, 10th, just starting to find some form after a slow start. But, it's the clocks go back in, 2 weeks and we're top of the league already. We've done so well to be in the position that we're in right now.
100%. I've been saying all season, if we're within touching distance of the top 6 by the World Cup, it's good so far. And we're top and we should be further ahead. And if you look at Forest, who've brought in a similar number of players, it's not worked out for them. Okay, they're in the division above, but it's a similar thing. And we lost some big players.
Yeah.
We lost England's number 1 goalkeeper. We lost Ben Mee. We lost Tarkowski.
Club captain, obviously, yeah.
Yeah. I was just watching the Spurs-Everton game. It's the first time I've watched Everton this year. And seeing Tarky and McNeil it felt weird.
Yeah, I watched Brentford last night. And obviously Ivan Toney scored the penalty. And I was like, I'm not Brighton's biggest fan, so I was like, go on, get in. I love that. And then I seen Ben Mee celebrating. I'm like, that hurts actually, that one. I always forget, like, it hits you, doesn't it? And you forget and you see him. But
when he scored against United, I celebrated. I was like, yes, United have conceded. Yes, Ben Mee scored. Come on. He doesn't play for us.
Yeah. But that just goes to show, like, we've lost these massive players. And as Tony said, we're still doing very, very well. So, we could even end up signing some more players in January, like, you know what I mean? We could strengthen further. There's been a few debate about what's he called? Vegos coming back. Not for me. I don't know. We've had that debate. Not for me. It's one of them though. If he can come in and guarantee his goals, which a lot of people are saying he will do in this league, then I'd take him back. However, it's the attitude for me. Like, we've already got Connor Roberts here who don't seem to like it here and always whinging. I don't want another bad apple in the dressing room. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, objectively speaking, because I don't know them personally, I'd rather have Vegas on the bench than Barnes at this point in time.
Yeah, true.
But we've got that lad on loan from Brentford.
And as Lemonade says, I don't know what's happened to him. He's not injured or anything, according to Alex James. And as Lemonade says, though, we've still got Twine to come back. Now, what's happening with Twine, I'll never know. I was the one that put it on Twitter that he had the calf tear or muscle tear, whatever it was. A slight muscle tear, from what I was told. I know for a fact it doesn't take this long to come back. I know they say he's had another injury. I don't know. It's all a bit fishy to me. I've heard certain rumours that I'm not going to speak about because I don't want to put rumours out there without any truth. I know other pages do things differently. I'm not going to do that. I don't see the point in spreading something in case it's wrong and then just causing more harm. But it's just all a bit weird, isn't it? Like, I know a lot of people say he's got another injury and things like that, but I just think it's all too convenient for me. What about you?
I've just, after years of Goodmanson, I don't tend to look into injuries too much. I'm just waiting for him to be back on the grass and.
Oh God, no! I'm so glad that we don't. Well, I'm going to say I was so glad we don't have Sean anymore. That's harsh because obviously I love him as a legend, and I don't mean it like that. But I'm so glad we don't have to put up with them quotes now. Company, yeah. I'm sure if Company's here for 9 years, we'll be fed up with his quotes. But I'll carry on reading some more comments out. Simon says, if you can't win, the trick is. Sorry, if you can't win, the trick isn't to lose. We've done well for where we are. Where we were at the start of the season. Yeah, obviously only lost one game all season. We're on the longest unbeaten run in the entire EFL. Only lost one game in 35 championship games or something daft like that. Simon Emerson does say, though, the only worrying thing is there's only 32 games left to play. Well, it's like you say, we're over a quarter into the season and we're doing quite well. So I'm not too worried about that. And then Phil goes on to say, imagine what we will be like after Company's had the 4-week World Cup break. Yeah, and obviously a lot of our players won't be going to the World Cup. I think there's only really... Who is there? Connor Roberts?
Connor Roberts. It's probably it.
Yeah. So I don't know. That was an awful camera freeze, that one. But yeah. So again, they're just going to be at home. All right, I'm sure they'll have some time off again, obviously, but they're just going to be, training, implementing his ideas over more, as Phil says. Right, it's been around 37 minutes now. I do like these to be around, half an hour to 40 minutes. So we'll start wrapping it up now. But man of the match, I know I mentioned it earlier. We've already got one vote for Jay. I know I mentioned it earlier, so people have had time to think. Get your comments in now. I'll put my opinion across. Sean will pick his man of the match and put his opinion across. And you lot all get your comments in. We'll read them all out. And then after that, we'll have a look at the fixtures coming up and see what we think is going to happen. But I don't want to be boring and pick the same one as the sponsors gave. But I said, I always do this thing with my dad, and they go, "Today's man of the match," and I'll always lean over and give mine. And then when it clashes, I'm like, "Oh, bloody hell!" But I thought Zaroury were class. I was happy to see him in the squad. His feet are so good. Like he just gets the ball, he does a bit of a dancing, and he does a bit of a sprint, and he's in behind you. And he's a good-looking lad as well. So he's got pretty much everything. But yeah, I thought he was sensational. He gets the ball, he runs at them. And then his finish as well. I don't think I mentioned it earlier. We mentioned Jay's finish. What a finish! Absolute arrow. I nearly swore then. Not that I don't mind swearing on this channel, but absolute arrow. Great finish. So yeah, Anas Zaroury for me. What about you?
For me, despite not scoring, despite not getting an assist, I thought Nathan Tella was fantastic. It was his pressing pretty much by himself that got Zaroury that goal. There are a few other examples. There's one where he was pressing the two centre-backs and the keeper and then played it out to the full-back and it looked like they were away. And then he pressed and he caught him and won as a throw-in. He was all over the place and they just couldn't deal with him. They were just fouling him all the time. I just thought it was
fair enough. I completely agree. It's hard to pick one player out. So giving it Anas or giving it Nathan, I thought Cullen's in with a shout. He's not getting many votes. I thought he were fantastic. Jay, obviously we've had a few votes for Jay, but let's just see what everyone's saying. We had the vote for Jay earlier on from the Newport fan who I think's left. So he's not put it in again. But Harry says Teller will be getting a call up to the England squad. Lumbago says Jay. Simon Edmondson says Jay, but Teller a very close second. Harriet says Teller for me. Every time he got the ball, he caused problems. They couldn't cope with him. Agree. Luke says Teller. And then Phil says too many man of the matches, but then goes on to name three. So, yeah, Teller. Bellis as well. He was class.
Yeah.
I know we mentioned Bayer earlier, but that defence, brilliant.
Yeah, they're just so calm, aren't they? They're so young, but they never panic. And
yeah,
they deal with things early, so it never gets to a point where you then worry. It feels like there's never anyone running at us. You go, no, they're going to get in behind us here. They just seem to deal with it.
Yeah, completely agree. They're very, very good defenders, the pair of them, and they work really well together. I know there's a guy on my Twitter and Facebook. I won't name him. I'm not sure he watches or listens, but he's always fuming when Charlie Taylor's dropped, and he put out a very what's the word? A controversial opinion the other day on my post, and they were like, Charlie Taylor's the best player in our squad. I mean, I love Charlie. I'm not going to sit here and slag him off because he's done very, very well to play as a round peg in a square hole so far this season. But he's another one. I don't see how he comes back into the side. The back four now for me, apart from rotational purposes, has got to be Martson, Bayer, Airwood Bellis, and then Vitinho.
Yeah, again, it's like Roberts. I think he's done a good job. He's not done anything where you go, oh, drop him. It's just that everyone's been exceptional. I think we're lucky we've got 6 players for 4 positions. Or possibly more, because we've not seen much of McNally. We've seen a few minutes of Egan Riley.
Yeah, good to see him come on today. I was very shocked.
Yeah, I was. I thought we'd maybe see Charlie Taylor come on.
Yeah.
Instead. And the other substitution that surprised me, I thought Taylor would go off. But with the success he was having running at them, I thought we'd see Benson come on as his replacement. And it was Goodmanson, who's obviously not as fast.
Yeah, I think by that point it was a not game management as such, but probably no point in putting a fast player on to try and break the lines when we're already 4-0 up. I'm sure for rotational purposes, obviously the squad will change a little bit for the Birmingham game. So the likes of Benson and maybe even Charlie Taylor might play. But I've got the upcoming fixtures up on the screen. Phil's already started his predictions. That's kind of the reason why I got him up. But he says win Birmingham, draw Sunderland, win Norwich. Not necessarily going into predictions as such, Sean, but what are your thoughts on these upcoming fixtures? Because for me, the next two are very winnable. Sunderland have been hit and miss. Birmingham have been more miss than hit, I think. I don't know, but they're a poor side. Norwich will be tough, but I think they'll come at us. Reading, they seem to be falling off a cliff. And then Rotherham at home. Like, if we don't literally destroy Rotherham, then again, I mean that with the greatest respect, then there's something wrong. And then a very tough one after that, Sheffield United away. Hopefully they've still got a few injuries at that point, because again, no disrespect to Blackpool, but teams like Blackpool are going there and getting points. And then they lost against Preston in midweek. So, oh no, that was Norwich that lost against Preston, wasn't it? But they've lost recently a few times. Harry says Sunderland on a bad run, aren't they? They were until today when they beat somebody. Can't remember who they beat, but they beat somebody. They were 1-0 down actually, and come back to win it. But I do think Sunderland are beatable. But Sean, what are you looking at with these fixtures?
Yeah, I think Birmingham and Sunderland are going to be. I think they're going to sit back and let us have the ball and challenge us to break them down. And then it's if we can. And then if we do get one, can we get a second? Which recently we haven't done so much. Obviously today was a different kind of game. And then if we don't get a second, can we hold firm and keep them out? That's what I think those two games will be like, and Reading and Rotherham. Norwich, I think, will come to play football, which, based on today, maybe that suits us.
Yeah.
And Sheffield, the same.
Yeah, Sheffield definitely will at Bramall Lane. I think that'll be a very, very tough game. But hopefully, we can, like I said, they've got a few injuries. So if they do have a few injuries, then that's it. Phil says it was Wigan that Sunderland beat today. But yeah, it's looking good. The Clarets are top of the table. They've beaten a very informed Swansea 4-0 and beaten them 4-0 and deserve to win 4-0. But as Lee Greenwood says, we're talking about teams sitting back. We struggle against teams that sit back, teams that try and play against us that get taken apart. Yes, Lee, I presume you're quite late to the stream because we did say that earlier on. If you are late to the stream, though, do not worry. We're wrapping it up now. So once we have wrapped it up, you can start at the beginning, watch it all again, and listen to everything that we've said. But yes, Lee, completely agree. If teams sit back, we need to start that, don't we, though, Sean? We need to start putting teams that sit back against us to the sword. That's the next step. If a team sits back against us, I want us to destroy them so we can then get a bit of confidence against teams like that. Yeah,
if you look at what City do for the last however long as Pep's been there, teams go there and sit back against them. We go and park the bus and they still put 5 past us.
Yeah.
So there's a way to do it.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying we're City, but the type of football we're playing at the moment and our position in the league at the moment, we need to have that similar ruthlessness.
Yeah, completely agree. That is the next step for Burnley. But obviously very happy. The Clarets are top of the league. They've won 4-0, demolished Swansea, an informed Swansea. We are going to wrap up the stream now, though, Sean. Big thank you for coming on. It's been a pleasure to have you back. It's been a few weeks since Sean's been on. It's been a few weeks since I've been able to actually do one of these streams as well, because people, I think Sam's been on holiday, Neil's been ill, you've been a bit busy. So, and just on my own, I just sometimes feel like people, why would somebody want to just watch me going, yeah, we were good today? So it's always good to get somebody like Sean on. But thank you to Sean for coming on. Thank you to everyone in the comments. And Lee does say, good work, Joe. That's not the one I meant to put up. I meant to put that one up. Yes, I was late to the stream. As I mentioned, if you are late to the stream, do not worry. Once I have finished this live, you can watch it from the start, or you can just go and have a brew now, come back, stick it on your big telly, if you want to see my mug and Sean's mug on your big telly. And Dan Pearce, just before we do go, says, first time I've been on your stream. Great job, lads. I'm really excited about this Burnley side. Well, Dan, if you are this is the first time you've been on the stream, please do subscribe if you haven't already. So thank you everybody for coming on. Sean, thank you everybody for watching. Thank you everybody for commenting. And the 60-second review, by the way, is already up. So go and watch that as well. And if you haven't already subscribed, if you've already subscribed, go and like all my videos. I'll see you for the pre-game show before the Birmingham game. Cheers.